How I simplified everything and got better results. A few years ago, I made a mistake that looked very productive on the surface. I was doing more, learning more, trying more strategies, exploring more opportunities, and yet my results were inconsistent, which didn't make sense because logically more effort should yield more outcomes. But it didn't. And that's when I discovered something surprising. Simplifying everything actually made me better, not worse. And today, I want to show you what changed and why simplicity might be the most underrated income strategy. Let's be honest about something. Being busy feels productive, researching strategies, watching tutorials, trying new approaches. It gives you the feeling of progress. But feeling productive is not the same as making progress. And that's exactly where I was stuck because on paper, I was doing everything right. In reality, I was building complexity. At one point, my income strategy looked something like this: multiple strategies, multiple time windows, constant learning, constant switching. Every day was different. Some days I was focused. Other days I was experimenting. Other days I was just trying to figure things out. And that was the problem. There was no stability. Then one day, something small happened, but it changed everything. I sat down to work on my extra income and spent most of the time deciding what to do. Not executing, deciding. Should I focus on this or try that or learn something new? And by the time I made a decision, my energy was already gone. That's when it clicked. The problem wasn't effort, it was friction. Most people think the biggest obstacle is time. It's not. It's friction. Too many decisions, too many options, too many moving parts. Because every decision costs mental energy, and working professionals don't have unlimited energy. After a full day of work, your brain is already tired. So if your system requires thinking every time, you won't stay consistent. So I tried something different. Instead of adding more strategies, I started removing things. Yes, less options, less complexity, less decision making. And at first, it felt uncomfortable because it felt like I was doing less. But something interesting started to happen. Execution became easier. Think about going to the gym. If every day you walk in and try to design a new workout, you'll spend more time thinking than actually training. But if you follow a simple program, you just show up and execute. Income systems work the same way. So I reduced everything down to three things: one system, one time window, one repeatable process. No switching, no constant learning during execution time. No emotional decisions, just structure. There's a reason this shows up in movies like The Karate Kid. Wax on, wax off. At first, it looked too simple, almost pointless. But those repetitive actions were building skill the entire time. That's how simple systems work. They don't look impressive in the moment, but they compound. This is exactly what the 3C trader method is built on: clarity. I stopped chasing multiple ideas. One system, one strategy, one path, because clarity removes hesitation, control. I defined rules: when to act, when not to act, how much time, how much risk. So instead of reacting emotionally, I followed structure. Consistency. This is where everything changed, because once decisions were removed, showing up became easier. And when showing up becomes easier, consistency becomes natural. Now, here's the interesting part. I wasn't working more. In fact, I was working less. But my results became more stable, more predictable, and more consistent because the system could run even when my energy was low. Simple systems survive real life. Busy days, low energy, unpredictable schedules, complex systems don't. They collapse under pressure, and most professionals live under pressure, which means simplicity is not a weakness. It's an advantage. Most people avoid simplicity because it feels slow. It feels boring. It doesn't feel like progress. But that's exactly why it works. Because it allows repetition is what creates results. One person tries 5 different strategies, switches often, and keeps learning. Another person follows one system, executes daily, and repeats the process. 6 months later, the second person is almost always ahead. The biggest shift wasn't in strategy, it was in mindset. I stopped asking, what else can I add? I started asking, what can I remove? Because every removal reduced friction, and every reduction in friction made consistency easier. Simplifying everything didn't reduce my results. No, it improved them because success wasn't coming from doing more. It was coming from doing less, but doing it consistently.